Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network is reporting that Davante Adams has officially requested a trade from the Las Vegas Raiders, wanting to find a new home in the NFL. This season for Vegas going nowhere very quickly. And I think that Adams is disgruntled. Did you watch any of the Receivers doc on Netflix?
I did. I binged the whole thing. It's why it's so surprising to me, because I felt like he got along really well with Pierce.
But he may get along with his coach. But you also saw in that, remember the Jimmy Garoppolo thing where he said he's going to get me killed?
Yeah, I do remember that, yeah.
You saw a lot of that coming from, that energy coming from Davante Adams the last couple of weeks. And when you have Aiden O'Connell as your backup and Gardner Minshew as your starter, he's looking at this as his time that he has to win in his career. And I don't knock a guy one bit if you are in a franchise that is going nowhere right now. If your thing is you want to win, then, yeah, go and do it, man. Go find a place where you can succeed and you can thrive. And if a Super Bowl is your goal, go and try and get that. Which leads to the question of, where does a guy like Davante Adams end up? In what teams feasibly can bring on his contract and have the capital to give Vegas something in return where, the weirdest thing about Vegas right now is they've had so many iterations of their front office that have kind of screwed it up, right? Mm-hmm. And the biggest one was they screwed up the haul that they got for Khalil Mack, and they got very little to show for it. Right. I think one guy is even on the roster still from that. And that was, your John Gruden, Mike Mayock, just absolutely going boneheaded in the draft and taking flyers left and right. But what teams are in win-now mode that have the ability to bring on Davante Adams and his contract? And, you can shuffle around pieces, but $23.3 million for a wide receiver, kind of a bargain now in the NFL.
Right. Yeah.
For a receiver of his talent, obviously still very highly paid, and a guy that is going to command a lot of your cap, especially if you are an elite team right now. If you look at salary cap space in the NFL, don't know how this is true, but it is. Do you know which team has the most salary cap space in the National Football League right now?
No. Is Detroit?
It would be the last team that you would guess.
The Dallas Cowboys.
It is the San Francisco 49ers.
See, this is why the salary cap isn't real, because there's no way that they have the most space. There's no way.
They've had to make some really tough decisions on their roster, letting guys walk, right? And they're clearing the deck, though, because they know they have to pay Brock Purdy moving forward. Mm-hmm. San Francisco is out on this conversation. And when you sign guys to new deals that are going to be kicking in, you defer that, or you manipulate the salary cap by converting signing bonuses, right?
Right.
So they may have the cash in hand, but then you go down the list. Cleveland is second. Cleveland is a team that I brought up as potential landing spot. Detroit is third. Detroit is third on this list, but they're also in that situation where they know, they've gave Amon-Ra St. Brown a big deal. They gave Penei Sewell his big deal. You are going to have to pay Aiden Hutchinson a king's ransom moving forward.
And he's worth every penny.
He is worth every penny. But what other teams are in this mode of win now, and we got money to dispose of? It'd be really interesting to see, because you get a prorated of that $23 million from Davante Adams. Buffalo only has like 3.8. They have popped up as a potential landing spot. Obviously, Josh Allen is having an insane year.
Shakir
Khalil is having a great year. Keon Coleman is starting to come around. They still have a void as a number one receiver. But Josh Allen is almost playing better without a number one receiver, because it's like, I don't have to force feed the ball to anybody. I don't have to lock on and make sure a guy gets targets. A guy like Davante Adams, though, that unlocks so much in your offense and so much more of what you can do. I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo is a player in this, and their name has popped up.
I feel like Buffalo would maybe stay away, though, because yes, I understand that he opens up a lot of stuff for them, but don't you think that could hurt the growth of a Keon Coleman? Because it feels to me like Keon is starting to at least emerge in he's getting deep throw targets.
Yep.
Now, he might not be converting on them as much this year, but he is. And what they're doing a lot, especially with Brady now taking over as that OC, they're running the football a lot more. And I think that's opening up the pass game, because the issue in the past with those Buffalo Bills teams, other than having to force feed Stephon Diggs or he'd throw a temper tantrum, was that they had no running game despite having that gigantic offensive line. You're letting the O-line kind of now go downhill, and you're opening up your pass through the run game. So I'd be worried about killing that.
I don't think you will, though. You have a potential out with Davante Adams after this season, so it could be your one-year rental at a prorated version. If it doesn't work out, it's in the short term. You can get to Keon Coleman and continue his growth and development, but if you have a window that's open, you got to attack that window and say, all right, now is the time. I think the Jets are a kind of the no-brainer that's kind of popped up, but does that fit with Davante Adams? Because they're not a team that's going to win right now. We know they're a team that's not going to win right now. They got Garrett Wilson.
They don't use him.
You could have Davante Adams, and maybe they don't use him because Alan Lazard is open because all the attention is on Garrett Wilson.
True.
Does that open up more options for Aaron Rodgers, who has a great connection with Davante Adams as it is, and you have an out after this year? That would be hey, you're not going to win a Super Bowl necessarily, but you could figure some things out, and you're going to be happy with Aaron Rodgers for at least this year, and then we'll see where you're at moving forward. Pittsburgh's also a team that popped up. They got in on that Brandon Ayuk deal, too. They were one of the teams rumored to be in the Brandon Ayuk sweepstakes. Obviously, with a big start from them and Justin Fields kind of finding his groove, he played well. And he has played well the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But they didn't lose this week because of Justin Fields. That's for damn sure.
No, ironically, they lost because the number 1 QB got hurt and the number 2 was much better and much more efficient. I want to go back to San Francisco, though, because the more that we talk about it, especially with it, the ability to get out of Adams' contract after 1 year, why wouldn't they go and take a stab at him? Because right now Debo's been hurt. You don't know if you're going to get CMC back at all. It's now come out, at least from what I saw on X, he's got Achilles tendonitis in both Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're going to see him this year. That's a brutal injury, and you don't want to rush him back ever, because when you have that tendonitis, it's just as easy for that thing to pop. We saw that's what happened with Kevin Durant, right? So for me, if it's a 1-year rental, why wouldn't San Francisco go and try and make the play for him? Ayuk's been underperforming. You got to think that he'll eventually figure it out because, he's playing through missing training camp and all that stuff. But if you can go and win now, because this team is going to lose some of these big-name pay guys, why not go and take a shot at the rental?